British opposition politicians visit Taiwan ahead of the UK's general election later this year. Traces of a fatal toxin that left 2 diners dead have been found at a restaurant in Taipei. Plus, Taiwan hopes to curb smoking habits with cold hard cash. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Rhys Ayres. A delegation from the British Parliament has met with President Tsai Ing-wen. It's the latest in a string of visits by overseas lawmakers showing their support for Taiwan. Louise Watt is live for us in Taipei. Louise, how important is this visit?
This might be President Tsai's last chance to meet with British lawmakers before she steps down in May. Now, during her 8 years in power, there's been a steady stream of delegations from Europe and the United States. They've been here to talk issues such as trade and technology, but they've also demonstrated how Taiwan has increased its Western friends, even despite China trying to isolate Taiwan on the world stage. Now, today's delegation, it's made up of members of the Labour Party, that's Britain's main opposition party, and it's significant in that that party is the favourite to win an election that's expected to be called in Britain later this year. Now, none of the members of the delegation are high-ranking, particularly in the Labour Party, but their visit here does nonetheless give officials in Taiwan an opportunity to try and glean some insights into the thinking, how a possible Labour government may approach Taiwan and China.
And what could a change of government in Britain mean for China and Taiwan?
Well, Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, he's widely expected to be Britain's next Prime Minister. He has experience of Taiwan. He's been here twice. He came in 2016 and 2018 after Tsai took power. And he came to press Taiwan to abolish the death penalty. That's an issue close to his heart. He's lobbied against it for many years. Now, on China, Starmer has said the UK needs to wean itself off Chinese technology and trade. He says that's because of national security and allegations of Chinese spying and human rights abuses. Of course, it's still unclear what a Labour government's foreign policy would look like, and policies do change. But more broadly in Britain over recent years, there has been a growing scepticism towards China. Even David Cameron, who when he was Prime Minister oversaw what was the UK's golden era of ties with China, and he visited China twice, he said last month that working with China has become a real challenge. He called it an epoch-defining challenge to work and have a relationship with a much more assertive China. And Cameron is now the British government's official in charge of foreign policy. And he says they're very worried about a Chinese invasion or blockade of Taiwan. He says that would have a calamitous effect, not just on Taiwan, but also the global economy. So whoever is the next government in London, I think it's fair to say that both Taiwan and China will be fairly high up in their foreign policy in tray.
Thank you, Louise. That was Louise Watt talking to us live from Taipei. Investigators have found traces of a fatal toxin at the Taipei restaurant at the center of a deadly food poisoning scandal. John Van Trieste has the latest.
A forensic lab may have cracked the mystery of the food poisoning case that's left 2 dead and dozens sick across Taiwan. Samples taken from the Taipei restaurant where all the victims ate have tested positive for a fatal toxin called bongkrecic acid. Taipei Mayor Jiang Wan'an announced the findings in a press conference.
采集的各项基证有呈现阳性的反应，基证当中有呈现阳性的反应，所以昨天晚上一获知，即刻我们赶快联系检方， 通知检方这个讯息。
Pancreatic acid can form on certain foods like noodles that aren't properly stored. But exactly what happened is still being investigated. As investigators work to figure out where the toxin came from, doctors are still trying to save several of the severely ill. A few will need drastic action to survive.
这4位肝脏的损害都非常厉害，那甚至有2位可能考虑要换肝。
One question that's followed this scandal does appear to have a final answer, though. The question of who is going to pay compensation. The branch of the restaurant chain where diners fell ill let its insurance lapse due to debts. This means the insurer for the food court where the restaurant is located will have to foot the bill. It could cost them up to $1.2 million between the 31 sick and dead.
原版 H3 保龄茶室有包含在台湾大时代所投保的公共意外责任险附加食品中毒保险条款之承保范围内。本案大概保险的额度又会再增加。
But the restaurant chain as a whole won't get off completely. Its other Taipei locations, like this one, also let their insurance lapse. Taipei's mayor has promised a fine on the restaurant chain itself.
没有缴保费，保单注销这件事情会再重罚共100万元。
The financial fallout may be settling, but this case isn't closed. On top of questions about how so many got so sick and about survivors' chances for recovery, there are also questions about who, if anyone, is going to face criminal responsibility. Taiwan's unsettled public wants the answers. Joseph Wu and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's former president Ma Ying-jeou visited a major Chinese car manufacturer on the second day of his trip to China. Ma toured BYD facilities in Shenzhen, Guangdong province. BYD is the biggest electric vehicle maker in the world. Ma was accompanied by Song Tao, the head of Beijing's Taiwan Affairs Office. Ma's leading a Taiwan youth delegation to China on an 11-day trip. He's expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping next week. A public health foundation in Taiwan is getting creative with its anti-smoking campaign. Chris Gorin looks at how their plan could leave quitters healthier and richer.
Quitting smoking can be hard, but what if you got paid to stop? Well, that's what Taiwan's John Dong Foundation is doing, kicking off its annual Quit and Win competition, which offers cash prizes of up to $9,000 for people who stop smoking. And this year, they are offering special additional prizes for police officers, which they say have especially stressful jobs and long hours. The foundation says its competitions have delivered long-term results.
至少75%的参赛者能够很坚持到底的完成这一个月的戒烟的一个努力。那1年之后呢，仍然有35%的我们参与的电影君子们都没有再吸烟了。
Taiwan's smoking rate has been declining over time, and at 14%, it's about on par with global and regional averages. But despite lowering rates, the head of Taiwan's National Health Service says smoking is still a major health problem in the country.
10大的死因包括我们的癌症，包括我们的心血管疾病、脑中风、糖尿病、肾脏病等等所谓的肺部的疾病相关的，都跟我们抽烟有关。
Taiwan has already implemented some anti-tobacco measures, such as cigarette taxes, to curb smoking. But with competitions like this, smokers looking to quit might breathe a little easier, knowing they might have some extra cash to burn. Klein Wong and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Prepare for more extreme weather events. That's the warning from meteorologists in Taiwan. It's going to get warmer for longer, and while that may sound good to some, it has some serious downsides. Tiffany Wong reports.
Putting a damper on the weekend, heavy rains temporarily shut down this temple party in southern Taiwan, causing chaos for attendees. A weather front brought intense rains across the entire country, and the increasing occurrence of such extreme weather events has meteorologists here concerned. They predict that due to warming temperatures, Taiwan will see shorter winters, longer summers, and more frequent high temperatures, and even more intense typhoons in the late summer, which they say will require different classifications and corresponding safety responses.
那台湾来说的话，就是只有3种。那我也建议说，未来应该可以讨论说，是不是再把台风的等级分得比较细一点点。
Taiwan's Central Weather Administration says early warnings are key to preventing disasters, and officials are planning to increase drills and improve communication with the public.
防灾的角度来讲，我们叫做这个最后一里路，一定要到民众他能够做反应，很多是要透过演练的方式，或者是还有一些救难的措施来加强整个的合作。
And with flood season coming up, authorities here hope people pay close attention to these warnings, with the expectation that more extreme weather is yet to come. Kama Xu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Young people in juvenile detention often face overwhelming difficulties on the outside. But educators at one centre in Taiwan are hoping they can give their students a leg up after they get released. Wesley Lewis has the story.
These aren't your average electricians. Educators at this juvenile detention center in Taipei are providing vocational training and guidance to these teens, with the aim of helping them succeed in the outside world.
其实他们也对一些工程的工种方面很有兴趣，那么当然是希望他们以后如果出去的话，能去接触到这些工种，因为毕竟他们如果不是读书的料，然后当然就要写个一技之长在。
The educators say that many of these young people enjoy dipping their toes in the water to learn new skills. They say getting engineering expertise or something simpler like a driver's license could turn the tide for juvenile offenders. That's because after getting released, many of these young people face heavy financial burdens and social stigma, and may turn to illegal activity to provide for themselves.
如果他到了成人阶段再是一个犯罪人的话，他就很难矫正。那青少年的可塑性最大，那他的影响也很大。改变了之后，他是更愿意回头来关怀其他后面有问题的孩子，或者是说愿意为这个社会做多一份贡献。
Zhang has dedicated his career to educating and mentoring at-risk youth. He's worked to equip these young people with essential social and vocational skills, with the hope that it will not just improve their own lives, but also create positive ripple effects in their communities. This is true for many of the young people he has worked with, including one former student who goes by Liu.
我只是想找到那2个社工而已，只想走到跟他们说很感谢他们，因为我觉得他们很认真对待只有17岁的那个时候的我。那个时候我国中也没有毕业，然后仍然在保护管束中，然后人生其实没有希望。
Liu was in the first class of rehabilitated youths. He's now an adult working in the service industry. He now has hope and feels gratitude towards his educators, a sign of how far he's come. But few social workers are willing to commit to this line of work, and educators say their facilities are consistently underfunded. The hope is that more people see the value in programs like this, so that more at-risk youth can learn valuable skills, giving them a second chance at life. Eason Chen and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwan indigenous movie has been named the best travel film at this year's Global Short Film Awards at Cannes. The piece, called Mountains, Forests and Islands, highlights the culture of the indigenous Zhou group in the mountains of Alishan in central Taiwan. Filmmakers say they want to showcase the indigenous culture in a fashionable and modern light.
希望能呈现用不同的角度来呈现原民部落的一些文化魅力，然后最主要是有一个点是生命力。
Coming up, businesses fall prey to Hong Kong's new sweeping national security law.
Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ian Kavat. Today we examine China's engagement with Africa.
Unfortunately, this very aggressive form of cultural revolution-like politics in China seems to be moving forward in this modern era.
this grave injustice is happening.
The issue is, what can the U.S. do to help strengthen Taiwan?
We need that kind of mindset to prepare for the warfare.
What implications does this have on Taiwan and the region as a whole?
Just like Ukraine right now, you need people to understand we're doing this for our own country.
Reaffirmed our support for the Taiwanese ability to make their own decisions about their own future.
It's very hard to duplicate in the short time. Taiwan still can continue being the leading position if we put efforts on R&D.
And you are riding on a wave. This is exactly the time you need to double down.
Or I did not realize I am actually running to be the first Asian woman in the state senate. Our next generation, they can see Asian American is as equal and have the same platform.
Taiwan Talks provides a platform for the voices and perspectives that are shaping our country.
For more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, visit us on social media or follow our website at TaiwanPlus.com.
We bring you stories from Taiwan every day of the week.
Our reporters travel the nation.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
News from here in Taiwan and around the world.
What's up, Taiwan? On TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. An independent bookstore in Hong Kong has been forced to shut its doors after battling intense political pressure. It's one of many stores that have had to close as the city imposes new security laws. Rosie Greninger reports.
In a small nook in Hong Kong, hundreds of book lovers gather to say farewell to one of the city's last remaining independent bookstores, now closing due to intense government pressure. Last month, Mount Zero announced it would shut its doors after constant visits from authorities threatening jail time and fines. They said they received anonymous complaints accusing the store of illegally occupying government land. The offence? Tiling a pavement in the front of the store and using its alleyway to hold book talks.
都會擔心嘅，如果獨立書店始終可能有陣時佢出版嘅書籍或者有嘅書籍會比較敏感少少啦，咁就都會擔心可能本身佢書店嘅書會少咗啊，即係會俾人嗰啲種類會限制咗咁樣。
There's been a crackdown on freedom since Beijing imposed a national security law in 2020, criminalizing acts seen to undermine China's central government. Just days ago, the scope of those offences was widened and penalties were increased to a maximum of life in prison. The territory's officials have rejected allegations that the laws curtail freedoms of expression, but it's already diminished some civil liberties, including purges of politically sensitive books from public libraries. 40 other independent bookstores have also shut their doors since 2020.
我感受就係因為而家嗰啲後生仔啦，或者香港人都會嚟講，可能會少啲接觸呢一類嘅獨立書店，即係可能會接觸多啲連鎖嘅書店啦。咁所以呢啲獨立書店除咗係賣書之外咧，就有一種大家書友去聚集，大家去一個聯繫嘅地方。咁如果冇咗嘅話，係好可惜咯。即係今日都見到有好多人一齊聚喺度，咁一齊大家講下發生緊咩事。
The handful of remaining independent stores where sensitive titles are available and liberal discussions are allowed say they're operating in an environment of increasing provocation. Several of them reported spikes in similar government inspections due to complaints about fire safety and labour regulations in December. In the face of these increasing pressures, some liberal-minded Hong Kongers have turned to selling books in wet markets or running mobile operations.
It is the spirit. And that spirit is unvanquished. It's not, it does not disappear. It does not become depressed because of all this. It actually, you look at how cheerful people are. You know, they are totally undaunted. In fact, the fact that they have survived this kind of oppressive behavior is something to celebrate.
For many here, the closure of Mount Zero is another hit on freedom of speech in Hong Kong. But the unwavering support in the store's last minutes is seen as a sign of hope, that those who dream of a more liberal city are refusing to turn the page in the face of political pressure. James Lin and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
800 suspected scammers have been arrested in the first ever Myanmar-China joint law enforcement operation. China's Ministry of Public Security said the operation targeted an international telecom fraud outfit in northern Myanmar. 350 Chinese nationals were arrested and repatriated to China, and 450 Myanmar nationals were handed over to local police. The move signals a deepening of cooperation between the two countries and comes amid an increase in scam operations in Myanmar. A viral video of the Indonesian military torturing a Papuan native sparked international controversy last week. The country's military made a rare apology and detained 13 soldiers over the incident. Although West Papua is a province of Indonesia, there have been separatist movements there. To discuss the human rights situation in West Papua, Gino Lopez spoke to West Papua Support Network Secretariat Paul Belisario.
And how unusual is a case like this in Indonesia or in West Papua, for example?
Yeah, specifically in West Papua, as we have said, this is not the first time. This is not an isolated case. It's either the military, Indonesian military or Indonesian police, that has a lot of cases conducting, inflicting human rights violations to West Papuans. West Papuans are arrested, being kicked, or being shouted racial slurs, being called as monkeys, or those who are being arrested without any charges. And then a year after, the Indonesian military will come back in service. This is a continuous and a regularity of the violence and brutality against West Papua has been inflicted to them for many years, for decades.
What drives the Indonesian military and authorities to inflict this level of violence against Papuans and this sort of discrimination against the natives in the island?
People. And this is what's happening in Indonesia as it continues to colonize and occupy the lands of West Papuans. It has done it through forced migration of Indonesia, bringing Indonesians to West Papua. And then it did it by extracting the land and the resources of the West Papuans. And now, with the growing of West Papuans' assertion, voicing out that they want to be free, they want independence, they want to be recognized as distinct people from Indonesian as an independent West Papuans.
And in light of this violence that you say the Indonesian military is inflicting upon Papuans, what is the outlook for the upcoming Prabowo administration, especially amidst his controversial human rights record in the past?
Escalating violence and attacks on West Papuans, they are very much afraid that it will increase, or for one, it will continuously be denied, and denying the accountability of the military, of the government on this harassments and attacks. So there is a very critical outlook on the ground and very challenging for the movement, West Papuan movements.
That was Gino Lopez speaking with Paul Belisario from the West Papua Support Network. North Korea has fired a suspected intermediate-range ballistic missile off the country's east coast. According to South Korea, the missile flew about 650 kilometers, falling just outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. It's Pyongyang's third ballistic missile launch this year. Leader Kim Jong-un has vowed to boost the country's weapons program. Some homeowners in Australia have come up with a way to make a little extra cash by renting out their backyards as private dog parks. Eric Gao takes a look at one of them.
This backyard has gone to the dogs, or at least to one dog. Jack is enjoying playtime with his owner, Samantha Leach, in Queensland, Australia, in a private dog park they have all to themselves.
Jack's a little bit reactive, or I like to say sensitive to certain things, so he's not a huge fan of people, kids, scooters and bikes.
There are plenty of public dog parks in the area, with plenty of pooches and their owners. But Leach says that's precisely why she doesn't take Jack there.
Just don't trust a lot of the people that go in, because a lot of the people go in there and they sit on their phone, they don't watch what their dogs are doing, and very often that leads to dog fights.
Instead, they rent out this space from Lisa Gill. She decided to turn her backyard into a private dog park because she saw that there was a market for a place for dogs and their owners to play away from all that chaos.
A lot of people say they don't like dog parks for one reason or the other. They can't walk their dog because a million different reasons. And it just seemed like this is what they were screaming out for.
There's plenty of space here, and Gil has set up toys and equipment, so there's a lot for the pooches to do. But what's it cost? About $20 an hour.
For me, it's worth every penny.
Andy Shria and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Japan's Imperial family has made its debut on Instagram. The account went public on Monday with a batch of posts showing the family at official functions. In just 2 days, the account has gained close to 500,000 followers. The Japanese government agency that works with the royal family says the account aims to let more Japanese people, especially younger ones, know what the monarchy does and to give the imperial family a fresh image. Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. You can visit the Taiwan Plus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out these people riding down San Francisco's Vermont Street on children's plastic tricycles at the annual Bring Your Own Wheel event. I'm Rhys Ayres, take care, and we'll see you next time.